Good afternoon, world. Wes Hotquitz here. Packers preview brought to you by Microsoft Copilot alongside my colleague at Packers.com, Mike Spofford, here to preview. I cannot even believe I'm saying these words, Michael. The Green Bay Packers regular season finale against the Minnesota Vikings at US Bank Stadium this Sunday, a noon Central start time, a game that can be viewed on CBS. Mike and I are here for the next 10 to 15 minutes answering all of your questions on the Packers social media accounts on YouTube, on Facebook, and here on X as well. And Mike, before we stepped into the studio, we found out the Packers injury report going into this game against the Minnesota Vikings. We know 2 players will be questionable for this one. Those 2 players are Malik Willis and also Zach Tom, who's missed the last 2 games with his knee injury. Willis is the big one, though, because we already know Clayton Tune will start, the Packers' third-string quarterback who is elevated, now signed to the actual active roster from the practice squad. He will get the start against the Vikings, but who QB2 will be remains to be seen. Right. One positive sign for the Packers this week, Jordan Love passed the concussion protocol. Yep. He does not carry a game status, although Matt LaFleur said earlier this week the intention is not to play him in this game. That's what the Packers are aiming for. Right. But with Willis questionable and limited this week in practice due to both the right shoulder injury and then also dealing with a hamstring, the Packers added Desmond Ridder to the practice squad as well, the former draft pick and starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago. Yeah. So here we are, Mike. Week 18, the Packers are locked into the playoffs, but who will be the one backing up Clayton Tune remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think the Packers would like Malik Willis to at least be available if necessary in that backup role to Clayton Tune, because that way they would be able to use the practice squad call-up on another player who could get some more playing time and allow somebody else to rest, all that kind of stuff. But if Willis is not available and you have to use one of your practice squad elevations on Desmond Ridder, then that's one less guy who can play another position coming up from the practice squad to fill in for this game.
An excellent, excellent point by one Mike Spofford, because those are very valuable spots with what those 2 elevations are going to be, because the Packers, there will be some starters that won't play in this game that might not even be active. I would venture to guess that Jordan Love will be one of them. Yeah. But who else do you want to potentially shut down? As far as the rest of the Packers injury report, Dontavian Wicks did not practice this week. That would indicate still not being cleared out of the concussion protocol. The Packers are leaving that door of possibility open, though. He is doubtful for this game. 4 players were also ruled out, the biggest one, names among them being Savion Williams, who did practice on Wednesday but then didn't practice the last 2 days, dealing with both the foot and an illness. And then also throwing in Nick Niemann in there, who was designated to return off IR this week. But with Niemann right now, still his first week back from practice, I think that's more of a trying to get him back for the potential playoffs. All right, very quickly before we get to all the questions that are coming in, J.J. McCarthy will start for the Minnesota Vikings. We found that out. He was a full participant this week, does not carry a game status. Unfortunately, you and I will not see Aaron Jones on the field. Former Packers running back will be out with the hip injury. Also, T.J. Hawkinson won't play in this game. Here we are. Yeah. J.J. McCarthy time.
Yeah, the hairline fracture that kept him out of the game on Christmas, which was on a short week for the Vikings, with Christmas being on a Thursday, and he had injured that hand just 4 days prior. I believe that was against the Giants, if I'm not mistaken.
And victory over the Giants.
Yeah, so he wasn't able to play on Christmas. Max Brosmer, we all know the 3 net passing yards, but yet, because of the Vikings defense, they were able to beat the Lions, which clinched that playoff spot for the Packers. But McCarthy is back now with a little bit extra time to rest that hand, and they feel good about his ability to play.
Okay, before we get into the questions, they're starting to come in, but Matt Donnelly from our social media department mentioned that you're not wearing a backwards hat.
And I'm not wearing any hat.
We did say, with the Packers on their 3-game losing streak right now, to break that, they want the backwards hat. So there may be a special delivery coming into the studio as we speak.
Oh, boy.
Come on, Matt. You'll be the first ever. No, you got to come out. Watch out. Don't hit any wires. Come right out here. No, it's okay. We don't bite. Matt has something for Mike here. Thank you, Matt. Right. Appreciate you joining us here. I think the first ever non-Wes or Spoff to appear on camera for Packers Preview.
I think so.
Because when the other one hasn't been here, we've just done it ourselves.
It's been a solo shot.
So we have the backwards hat, Mike. By all means, if you want to put that on there. Basically
Try to change the Packers' luck here.
guaranteeing Packers victory by Mike putting on the backwards hat. We
All
thank
right.
you to everybody
All right.
that was a part of this. We'll just keep it on, Donnelly. We're good. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. You want to answer a question or two?
Sure. Why not?
Lynn Dahl on X. I am surprised by the last-minute signings because I thought there was a deadline for that. I'm guessing that there are nuances. Can you explain? The waiver wire is an interesting beast. What happens is if you are actually at a certain point, you can't trade anymore, right? That is
Right.
usually
The
at
trading
end of
deadline.
October.
Yeah, the trading deadline has passed.
You also have a window in November in which players that are retired cannot return that season. That's how the Packers ended up with Jared Valdir a number of years ago. Valdir told the New England Patriots he wished to return. The Patriots granted him his release, and then he ended up on the Packers roster when they claimed him off waivers. In the case of Trayvon Diggs, he was on the roster of the Dallas Cowboys. He started the past 2 games for the Cowboys. They opted to release him on Tuesday, but because every single player past a certain point has to go on waivers, even though he's a vested veteran.
Right, even when you're a vested veteran at this time of year, if you are released, you are subject to waivers.
So, Trayvon Diggs, all-pro cornerback, ends up on waivers. Brian Gutekunst sent the name in, made the claim, and here we are. Trayvon Diggs joining his buddy Micah Parsons in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's one of the more unusual, unexpected, surprise type moves for late in the season. Something like this when you're talking about a guy who's been a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. Yes, he's had his share of injury issues over the last few years, but kind of wore out his welcome, whatever the case might be in Dallas. And this is a still young, talented player looking for a new lease on his football career, quite frankly. So an opportunity here to potentially help the Packers in the playoffs. Who knows what that means for the future, whether that be in Green Bay or elsewhere. And an opportunity really for both sides, for Trayvon Diggs, as I just mentioned, because of where he's at in his career and all the injuries that he's dealt with, but also for the Packers because of all the injuries that have hit the cornerback position. I mean, just a week ago, the Packers had Nate Hobbs and Kamal Hadden, amidst all the other regular corners, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine. Hadden and Hobbs both go down against the Ravens, and those are long-term injuries. They've both been put on injured reserve. We're not going to see those guys again. So the Packers, got extremely thin at cornerback, extremely quickly. And so Trayvon Diggs kind of fell into their lap. They're going to see what he can offer.
Jack from College Avenue in Appleton, very specific, but we'll take it.
Okay.
What are you expecting to see from Clayton Tune this Sunday? What can we expect to see from him?
Well, I mean, Clayton Tune has a heck of a challenge in front of him because Brian Flores' defense, the Minnesota defensive coordinator I'm talking about, of course, he makes it as complex for opposing quarterbacks as anybody out there. It's going to be a big-time challenge for Clayton Tune and this Packers offense, which is probably going to have some substitute offensive linemen, some because other starters on the offense are going to rest. And Clayton Tune's got a lot he's going to have to sort out at the line of scrimmage to keep things clean, to give the Packers a chance to develop some kind of consistency to move the ball on offense. But he's going to have to deal with Harrison Smith and I know the Vikings have some injuries on defense, but whether you're talking Harrison Smith or Blake Cashman, all these guys on Minnesota's defense that are they're going to try to Eric Wilson. They're going to try to make life really difficult for Clayton Tune.
Here's what I love about it, though. You'll see this in a few moments. We'll get done shooting Packers preview, again brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. Here in a couple minutes, we'll head back upstairs to our offices. I will give you my Packers Insider Inbox column for tomorrow. And in that, before you even read a single word, you will see a headline that says on there, Sunday is what the NFL is all about. Opportunity. That's what I love about this. It doesn't matter if you're Trayvon Diggs, who's been to the highest of highs, had a huge contract extension, or a guy like Clayton Tune, who is a former 5th-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals, had to make a start in his second NFL game, gets cut by the Cardinals at the end of camp and decides to come up to Green Bay, Wisconsin as QB3, has been in that capacity all season long. He talked to us about it this week. Him and Malik Willis putting together the defensive back plans, all these sort of things. Now he gets to go out there and play. His family is going to be in attendance at US Bank Stadium. Is it going to be difficult? Heck yeah, it's going to be difficult. Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators there is in the NFL. I love his scheme. But it's the National Football League. This is the setting that you end up ultimately asking for when you sign that contract. And the other thing that's a really cool storyline to follow, it's going to be a very minimal thing, but I guarantee you, if it happens, it will probably be the headline of the game notes on Sunday afternoon. The quarterback, Clayton Tune, the receiver, Matthew Golden. Both of those guys together were at the University of Houston back in, I believe it was 2017. 7 touchdown passes that year for Matt Golden. How cool would that be if his first touchdown pass comes from his old Houston quarterback?
Yeah, that'd be something. Those guys, Matthew Golden put up some pretty good numbers as a freshman at Houston. I don't think it was 2017. It had to be a little more recent than that.
I was on a roll, Mike.
I know. Well, I just, you know.
You know what? You and
just...
Daniel, Lopez can come up here. You guys can do this together. I'll work the camera. Okay? Daniel, you want to come do this?
I'm busy that.
Okay, he's busy. All right,
But yes,
go ahead.
before Matthew Golden transferred to Austin, to the University of Texas.
I was thinking of, by the way, I was thinking of Diggs.
There you
When
go.
17.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he played with Xavier
they
McKinney
won
at
the national title
Alabama
in
and
17.
everything. They won a
My
national
wires got
title.
crossed.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I mean, Matthew Golden was a young freshman at Houston. Clayton Tune was his quarterback. 2022, Daniel says.
Thank you, Daniel.
He's giving us,
Appreciate it.
feeding us the information. Yeah, you're right. 7 touchdowns. Had a really productive. They had really productive time together, even though it was somewhat short at Houston, because then Golden ended up transferring. But yeah, these two.
Tune went to the NFL.
Yeah, and these two know each other,
Yep.
and it'll be interesting to see what they can put together on Sunday afternoon.
We're here for a few.
Easy for you to say.
Thank you. We are here for a few more minutes. I'm Wes Hodquist. He's Mike Spofford. Packers preview brought to you by Microsoft Copilot, previewing the Packers-Vikings Week 18 matchup on CBS this Sunday at noon Central start time. Renee Gabriel somewhere upstairs. I will get to the grilled cheese question. Don't worry. I'm getting people that want me to ask this, but I want to talk a little bit more football before we get to it. But there's a grilled cheese question waiting for you. We only hit the big topics here on Packers Preview, especially when it's the last week of the regular season. Okay, this question's from Jeremy on YouTube. What would you like to see come out of this game for the Packers besides a W? I don't know if Sam Delapez in our social media department was meaning to send me this because of this question, but he sent a photo of Colin Oliver.
Yeah.
And that's one of many, I've said it, I think there's probably 24 players that could see playing time in this game that maybe don't normally see playing time.
Right.
But it's guys like Oliver, who is yet to make his Packers debut, yet very well likely will on Sunday. He had the hamstring issue, had a recurring issue with that. He's now available. He's someone the Packers were extremely excited about as a 5th-round pick out of Oklahoma State.
No doubt.
You asked me this question. You can answer it your own way, but you asked me this question about what I want the Packers to get out of this game. I want to see what those young bucks have to offer. I want to see what guys that maybe haven't been able to get on the field on game day because it's just they were working their way back from an injury or there's just depth at certain positions. The guys that get called upon, who steps up. I don't want to call this a preseason game. That would be disingenuous to call this a preseason game because there's stuff on the line here. There's pride on the line. This is an NFL game. Jobs will be won and lost, both on the sideline and on the field for both teams in this performance. But it'll be really exciting to see the guys that haven't gotten a chance to dip their toe in the water, seeing if they can swim.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if there's anybody who's taking on either a guy like Oliver making his debut because he hasn't played at all, or another guy, say, in a similar position, Brenton Cox Jr., who's coming back from a long injury layoff. He's gotten back into the rotation on defense, but now this is an opportunity to play a whole bunch of snaps as opposed to in, his usual more limited role. I'm interested to see if somebody jumps out to the point that heading into next week for the wild card playoff, if the coaches say, hey, we want to make sure we give this guy 6 or 8 or 10 snaps because we think he can help us in the playoffs. If somebody comes out of the Minnesota game and makes that kind of impression to potentially provide that assistance to a playoff run here for the Packers, that could be pretty exciting.
You know what's neat about that too, Michael? I don't know if you were thinking of it this way, but I certainly was when you say that. You think about Brenton Cox Jr. getting his opportunity last year. They make the trade where Preston Smith goes to Pittsburgh.
Right.
Brenton Cox Jr. to that point had not been he'd been a healthy scratch all season. He ends up being elevated. He ends up getting that opportunity. 7 games, 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Whether it's it could be Cox again, it could be Oliver. Those type of guys getting that opportunity. You go back 3 years ago when it was really tough for Sean Ryan to get on the field. They started working him in, integrating him, rotating him with John Runyon while Runyon was working through some injuries. And then he becomes a starting center now for the Packers in the aftermath of Elton Jenkins' injury. Those are the small things, those little butterfly effects that for some guys it might not be in the playoffs. It could end up being in next season. But it's the things that down the line, as you and I are putting together stories, as people are talking about this stuff, you go back and you think about them getting that opportunity and them getting that spot.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is an interesting one. This one's on X. This is from Inbound Sports Media. It was cool to meet you this summer, Wes, and get your autograph during training camp. Look at that. And it actually has where I signed it. Are the Packers likely to re-sign Romeo Doubs? Listen, those are the questions we will have to figure out down the line. Thank you, by the way, for sending that. That brought a smile to my face. There is so much for this Packers team to figure out. There's Romeo Doubs. There's Quay Walker. The list goes on and on. I mean, you're going to get into the offseason. You have Tucker Kraft going into last year. His deal, he was looking like, a guy that was an easy, extension, maybe even this offseason before the injury, and potentially maybe still. We saw it with Christian Watson. Watson got an extension before he was back on the field. So all those things are going to have to sort themselves out. What I will say is, when you look at the receivers and the way the Packers have built this thing up, because there was a lot of questions about Matthew Golden this week too, I thought as much as we put headlines on Malik Willis, and rightfully so, with that Baltimore game, the performances that the Packers receiving corps came up with was really kind of the understated, not talked about sort of aspect of that loss to the Ravens. Doubs opening with a 37-yard or 40-yard reception, the 37-yard touchdown to Christian Watson. The fact that when they've needed to turn to some of these guys, they're there. And last night, Mike, when we were talking to the Packers assistant coaches, Jason Vrabel brought up something very interesting that I hadn't thought about. You probably did because you're smarter than me. But the Packers were so banged up in their receiving corps last year going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Beyond just what happened with Christian Watson against Chicago.
Yeah.
They were in dire straits there, for a lack of a better term. They were having to turn directions that they hadn't really turned to heading into a playoff. Outside of Dontavian Wicks, and obviously this bug or foot injury that Savion Williams is dealing with, when you look at the Packers' top receiving talent, it's all there for them. For Jordan Love, it's all there.
Yeah, they want to be as fresh and as healthy as possible going into the playoffs, right? Which is why the Packers are taking the approach that they are in this game. But yeah, when you think back to the Watson injury at the end of last season and then going into the playoffs, and then, Jaden Reed took that shot to the chest, and he had to come out of the game in Philly in the playoffs, and just they were running out of reinforcements. There just wasn't there wasn't the depth to get through that and to hang in there against the Eagles when, early in the fourth quarter it was a 16-10 game. So yeah, the Packers are in a better spot, aside from obviously injuries like Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons, but the Packers are in a better spot now than they were last year, and they're trying to get themselves in an even better one by resting guys. Because you have to remember, and I know there have been Thursday games and Saturday games and a couple of days off here and there. This team had its bye way back in week 5. The players have actually not had a week off since way back in October. Yep. And so not that they took this week off because they were practicing. There were practice periods of first teamers against first teamers and instead of scout team and all that kind of stuff. That was what they were doing to stay sharp, but you do it in practice where you don't have the injury risk and everything that you have in the game. This week could be really, really valuable the way it turned out for the Packers moving forward.
A couple more here before we leave. This is from Stalrev on YouTube. Could we see Desmond Ridder by the second half? I think if Clayton Tune is healthy, good to go, I think this is Clayton Tune's ball game.
Yep.
Ridder
so too.
Is a great story. It's interesting. You will see but I think most of the evaluation that's going to happen with Desmond Ridder is not going to be stuff that we're going to see. It's going to be what's happening at practice. And also, honestly, getting into the playoffs, where the Packers are at with certain things. Do you take a look at them? Do you need that practice squad spot? Do you not need that practice squad spot? Could you bring him back on a futures deal once the season's over? All things the Packers are going to have to sort through as they try to figure out QB2 for next year with Malik Willis being an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
But the fact is that Ritter has been here for about 48 hours now, I think, at this point, maybe 72. It would be a tall task, I would feel. Even though he has experience, he's been in the league for a minute. If everything's equal, I see this as Clayton Tune's football game.
Yeah, I think what the Packers would like is for Clayton Tune to be able to play this game start to finish. You never know what's going to happen out there, which is why you have to have some backup and contingency plans and all of that. But announcing early in the week, as Matt LaFleur did, that Clayton Tune was going to be the starting quarterback, I think the plan is for him to play all 60 minutes and give it everything he's got.
Brett on YouTube, can you walk through the Packers wildcard matchup scenarios going into this week for the people? Thanks, guys. You're the best. Go Pack Go. Thank you, Brett. Mike, you want to lay her all out for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that complicated because the Packers have two possible destinations for the wild card next week. They're either going to Chicago or they're going to Philadelphia. The Bears and the Eagles are going to sort out late on Sunday afternoon. Both teams play at 3:25. The Bears play the Lions. The Eagles play the Commanders. They're going to sort out who's going to be the 2 and the 3 seeds in the NFC. The Bears are the ones in control of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the 2 seed is the team that will host the Packers because it's 2 versus 7. So whoever gets the 2 seed hosts Green Bay. The Bears are in control. If they win, they're the 2 seed and the Packers are going to go to Chicago. If the Eagles lose, regardless of what the Bears do, the Packers are going to go to Chicago. The only way it flips, essentially, to Philadelphia is if the Bears lose and the Eagles win, then the Eagles get the 2, the Bears get the 3, and Green Bay goes to Philadelphia. That's basically how it lays out.
All right. This question is from Tyler Gajowski. Fellas, it's a 45-minute flight to Minnesota. What Van Halen album are you going to listen to? That's from Tyler on YouTube.
That's from Tyler. Yeah. I'll have some 1984 going.
1984?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask the $1 million question that Renee wanted me to ask. This question is from Joel on X. Who would win in a fight between a grilled cheese sandwich and a taco? Also, I didn't know grilled cheese sandwich.
I think the grilled cheese sandwich would be able to stay together.
I think Joel,
the taco would fall apart.
Is it a hard shell or a soft shell taco?
Either one would fall apart.
Yeah, I had some good tacos this week from the Howard VFW, and they were good. But I didn't. When I was eating it, I was like, man, I didn't really think to myself, how would this thing hold up against a grilled cheese? I think if a grilled cheese is toasted, that gives it a little bit more of an outside sort of edge to it. It's a little bit tougher.
A grilled cheese, Wes.
Yeah, it would be tougher. But you could do if it was a taco, you just don't know. Could it engulf it? Could it
Nah.
Could it split and go over the top of it?
No.
I don't know. So you're going grilled cheese.
I'll go with the grilled cheese
All right.
in that one. Yeah.
Fair enough. Doris Pringle on Facebook. Happy New Year, Michael and Wes. We are in for a treat in 2026. What are your New Year's resolutions?
No, I don't do New Year's resolutions, Doris. Sorry.
Really?
No, I don't. Because that way I don't have to be all disappointed in myself when I don't fulfill them.
New Year's comes around too quick, I feel, as I've gotten older.
You got that right.
So it's hard to actually have goals anymore. I know we have this thing at work right now where it's hey, watch your weight so you don't get too.
Yeah, I gave that up a while ago.
Eat too much of turkey during the holidays. It'd be nice. My resolution would be to get to spring with the same weight I was carrying in fall.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
You know what my New Year's resolution is going to be, Doris? I want to be more positive. I want to be more thoughtful. I want to be less reactionary. I want to see the forest for the trees, as they would say. That is my New Year's resolution, and I'm sure my boss Duke will let me know whether or not I achieve that when we get to December. The Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Again, a noon Central start time. Mike, there's so many things to consider with this game. It feels like the outcome is secondary.
Yeah.
I'll just lob it up to you here. I mean, what do you want to see? What do you think it's going to take? How do the Packers win? What would you consider to be a Packers victory? With the game needing to be played, because we now have a 17-game regular season,
That's right.
What must happen, do you feel, to best position the Packers for that wild card weekend?
Yeah, I mean, one, you'd like to be able to get out of this game without any more injuries that are going to impact the playoff game, because the Packers have dealt with their share not only all season long, but particularly the last month or so. It feels like after every game we're talking about, okay, who else is on the, I mean, wasn't it just last week against Baltimore that the Packers had like 20 guys on the injury report?
I think they added 2 more because of the
because of the flu bug or whatever that was going around the locker room. So no more injuries. That would be the biggest priority here. But other than that, I will just go back to what I said before, that if the Packers find somebody, a young player, a guy trying to work his way back into a role, if they find somebody in this game that they feel can help them in the playoffs, even if it's just for a handful of snaps in certain situations, whatever it might be, that would be great to see. The other thing is, and I don't know if we're going to see him on Sunday or not, but if Trayvon Diggs can, get some snaps to get acclimated to Jeff Hafley's scheme and some of the coverage calls and the communication and everything in the back end in order to be able to help the Packers in the playoff game, whether that's in Chicago or Philly next week, that could be big too, because that position, cornerback position with Trayvon Diggs, is where the Packers are the most banged up.
He's Mike Spofford. I'm Wes Hotquitz. Daniel Lopez was behind the camera. Awesome people on broadcast and our social media
Matt
departments.
Donnelly delivered the hat.
Helping us out. Matt Donnelly delivering the hat. Also having a brief appearance on camera, which honestly makes my heart smile. But be sure to stay tuned to Packers.com, the Packers mobile app. My goodness, Mike. Not only us, our broadcast department, our social team, we cranked out content for New Year's week. Probably maybe set a record for the amount of stories and videos and whatnot we put out. I wrote quite often, including the 5 Things story on Trayvon Diggs, what it means for him to come to Green Bay, what it meant to him to be able to reunite on the same team with Micah Parsons, even though right now Parsons still out with his ACL injury.
And you had 5 things on Jonathan Ford, who we didn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about here. I mean, a Packers draft pick from a few years ago, coming back. He's back in Green Bay. Packers looking for some reinforcements with regard to the run defense after what happened against Baltimore. And Jonathan Ford back in the Green Bay locker room.
A popular dude in the locker room. Very cool dude. Very happy to see him come back. And after 2.5 years of being on the roster and not getting an opportunity, very well will be playing his first game for the Packers this Sunday in Minnesota. Mike wrote a ton of stuff this week, mostly around where things stand with the Packers leading up to this thing. You'll also have your One Last Look column tomorrow on Packers.com. I heard some rumblings that maybe that'll have something to do with Bo Melton.
It might.
Maybe.
It might.
We'll have to stay tuned for
that. Are we
that.
going to see a 3-phase player on Sunday for the Green Bay Packers? Offense, defense, and special teams?
Would be pretty cool. The only
That
other
would be
time I
cool.
can think of it was Keyshawn Nixon, which was probably 3 years ago now. When he played, they had him take a rep at running back.
He took a snap on offense to go
11-yard carry too, by the way.
To go with defense and special teams. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just to mix it up. But I do want to say it's a happy new year. We appreciate you all always helping us out, checking this out, giving us your questions, giving us your responses, requesting backward hats. It is always appreciated, and I'm excited to see how far this Packers run continues to the playoffs. Obviously, we'll be back next week. But until next time, for Mike, I'm Wes. We'll see you later.